that makes it seem like I'm being very performative. Like I'm only doing it when it's not close to me. So what is that saying? And I also have to be careful because sometimes when I have these conversations, I make money off of having conversations like this. So even then I need to be cognitive of like, if I'm talking about this shit, I need to be actually taking the money I'm making from this stuff and investing it to other people. Like who are actually out here doing the work and talking to these folks who are out organizing and doing work on the ground. I can't be just out here doing this shit.
And I think
Hope is about to drag.
Yeah.
She got
She didn't say. I was like, I'm gonna.
I was just waiting.
She about to say something. It's coming to us. Come on with this.
Okay.
So, I'm gonna try to people don't change. Liars don't become truth tellers all of a sudden. Thieves don't become people who are not going to take from you. What people do is they learn how to do so in a way that they can coexist with people. What happens the first time that you get caught in a lie is you learn how to lie better. What happens the first time that you get caught stealing is that you learn how to do it in a way or steal things that are less valuable. I feel like those things don't change. You just learn to adapt them to coexist with people so that you don't hurt people. We learn to do things in different ways so that the reaction that we got, because it's not the feeling that you don't like the reaction behind what you did. And so what happens is that we don't change who we are, we just learn how to adjust it so that who we are isn't a problem for other people.
You think that's for everybody?
I truly believe that there are some people, I think that when we think about, okay, like these small success stories of people who we really believe have changed, right? We cannot go in depth into everybody's situation and say, my uncle has been clean for 7 years and never touched it a day. How do I know? I don't know about that one time that he went to Vegas and had a small slip and happened to pull himself up out of it. I don't know about that time. I don't know about that time, that my Aunt Teresa stole that pack of gum after 7 years and not taking anything, or I don't know about that one time. Like, we don't know about
she stole it from Walmart, she could.
Right, but still. But like, it's one of those things where it's not to say that people can't change, but like I said, I don't feel like there's ever a complete change with the people. We just adjust ourselves. We adjust to our environments because we don't want to hurt the people. Like, I feel like we all, in this society, we're a society of people. We need family, we need community, we need all of these things. And if I don't want you guys to never talk to me again, I'm not going to continue to steal your shit. I'm not going to continue to say problematic things in front of you. I'm not going to continue to be this person that you don't like because I need you. And I want you around. And so does that mean that I've changed? No, it just means I've adjusted and I know better.
So is that to say that people who do things wrong, like when you're a child and you steal something and your parents say, hey, stealing is not good.
You now know better. You've now adjusted your behavior.
But does that mean that you're forever a thief, and in your heart, in your core, that you're a thief?
I think that there's a difference. So when we talk about thieves and when we talk about lies, when we talk about chronic abusers, those things are chronic. Those things are behavioral patterns. Like the conversation we're having now about these men, these people in hip hop, these are things that we've seen in patterns. Right? And so I feel like we don't categorize people until we see it in a pattern, right? I'm not going to call you a thief because you're a 3-year-old or you're a 10-year-old and you decided to snatch a brownie from a convenience store. I'm talking about when we're constantly doing something, it's a part of our life, it's a part of our pattern, and everybody around us is like, you know what, now, hope is just problematic. At this point,
I was going to ask, do those adjustments include like good things? So I feel like a lot of times when we talk about trauma and like a lot of the reason why people are abusive is because we've all learned about power dynamics and sex in like the worst way possible, and ways to deal with trauma, or like addressing it and healing through it, and then like maybe finding a different coping mechanism, even if that means yoga or meditation. Like the same person, but your adjustments are just good. Whereas for most people, the adjustments are, I'm just going to ignore this, or I'm going to drink instead of doing drugs.
Exactly. So that's why I'm coming from it. I don't think that it's necessarily like, oh, people change or the situation changes. It's just that people learn how to adjust themselves.
Or evolve.
I still
or evolvement, right? But not necessarily change.
So I still have to push back, I think, because I'm really big on language, and I am a staunch prison abolitionist, and so I wholeheartedly believe in redemption. I believe in reconciliation. And I believe in restoration. And so because of that, I believe that people are absolutely able to change. I think that however, because I don't think that these issues are innate. I don't think that things that we do are inherent. I think the things that we do are taught, that they're learned, that we are socialized to be, that we're socialized to these behaviors that are determined to be, I guess, bad or criminal or so forth and so on. Right. And so I say that to say that I think that when we start talking about, if we have a conversation around justice and we are talking about what it means to what it means to change, if we lean into the rhetoric that people can't change, that to me is innately or inherently upholding or allowing space for the prison system to exist. And that says that, okay, if people can't change, we have to have a prison to keep people in because they won't change with any sort of help. And I don't believe that to be true. I think that we have the power and the resources as a collective to make decisions around what it looks like, to hold people accountable, to talk about restoration, to talk about reconciliation. And that doesn't mean that a person who was abused is forced into talking with the person who abused them. I think, however, it does mean that the abuser has a responsibility, and the community around the abuser has a responsibility to hold him accountable, to hold them accountable, to make sure that moving forward that does not happen, not out of adjustment, but out of sincere change. Because that's how society works. We're socialized in different ways. So that's when we start to re-socialize or unlearn, that is another form of socialization, which then leads us to another way of living.
But I think that when we talk about language, we have to go back into what she said about evolvement. I think that because it goes back into the idea that evolvement is something that happens with a sincere, like you want to evolve because, like I said, I need you all. And so my evolvement comes because I see what it did, I see my consequences behind it, and I've evolved with it. It does not mean that because that goes back into like how I feel about trans women who don't want to acknowledge being what they were or who they were before. It's like I've evolved into this, but that does not dissipate or erase who I was before this, and I'm not going to pretend as if I were somebody else before this and that I wasn't born male prior to this. What I am going to do is have you respect who I am now, respect who I've evolved to, but I'm not going to erase the fact that this is what was happening. And I think that while I'm not capping for the prison system, it's one of those things where I believe that there needs to be something in place that helps people to remind you this is where you came from and this is why you evolved. So this is what we don't want to do anymore, and this is where we're going, and we've evolved because of this. You want to see your family, you want to watch your children grow up, you want to see all of these things, and that doesn't necessarily change the fact that you were a thief. And that sometimes that's going to come up, because that's what happens when we don't hold people accountable for the past and we just accept the fact that they've changed and they've been redeemed and all that other stuff. You have to remind people of where they come from sometimes so that they don't go back there. It's important, like in a marriage when somebody cheats or whatever and they're upset because, oh, you shouldn't keep bringing this up, you shouldn't keep bringing this up. But the reason that you've been so good is because I do keep bringing it up, because if I let you slide, you do it again. And you do it again. And you do it again. And and that's the culture that we're talking about now, where we see things like that, where we have the Waka Flockas, and we have the Charlamagnes, and we have all of these problematic people who keep saying, oh no, I understand, I see, I've changed, but you haven't because nobody holds you accountable and nobody reminds you of the bullshit that you've done in the past. And so yes, sister, yes, brother, evolve and change and grow and motivate yourself to do something different, but you better believe I'm going to be on your ass every time you say something fucked up, because I want you to stay changed. Not just pretend to be changed, but I want you to evolve and take yourself to the next level. A Pokemon that's evolved does not go back, but it always remembers that it was a Pokemon and in a ball at the beginning, point blank in the period.
Nothing else to say, like, period.
Since we back in the Pokeball, what is our Pokeball? Like, I don't know how to say that, but I feel like, what space are we in where we can use whatever we have to, like, make some sort of change? Like, I don't have that many cishet male friends. I don't. Like, I used to when I was in the Army. I had a lot of.
Absolutely, that's what it was.
Yeah, it was a lot. And some of the things they used to do made me like, damn, this shit is really garbage as fuck. Like, I always grew up like not wanting to be around like men because of the way they talked about women. It disgusted the fuck out of me. I could not stand it.
I tell you, socialization is so powerful.
Like, I just like, damn, I'm like, I don't want to have sex with them, but god damn, like they people.
Right.
And I've been learning like even the little basic shit. So I know people know that this shit is wrong. You're not telling me. These people know it. They have to know it. But even before I even got more informed, I was like, some of the shit that was being said was not right.
Garbage.
Yeah, and the rape culture is really, sexual abuse is bad in the military.
Even some of the drill sergeants, these are supposed to be your leaders. The stuff that's normalized, even the cadence that we call.
It's to another level. So, well,
Yeah,
and that sounds like a
conversation.
in the middle episode about should black people be in the military? But ending, because I wanted to talk about Pokemon. I'm such a Pokemon fan, so that took me back. What is, if you had to tell Charlamagne some shit, what would you tell, if you had to choose between Charlamagne, R.Kelly, Fabulous, all of them, who would you say something to right now?
Girl.
Who is the person that has ticked you off the most that you feel like has not been held accountable?
I'm calling a meeting. I'm calling a meeting. I want all of them in one room.
There you go.
I want all of them in one room, and all I got to say to them is,
You said the media.
I'm calling a meeting
Ooh.
with Charlamagne, R. Kelly, Nas,
Russell Simmons.
Russell Simmons, 50 Cent,
Cause he right here laughing on Instagram comments, ain't it?
Biggie's Ghost,
Yeah.
all of them, big bitch. I want all of them in one room.
Well, he's talking about getting his ass ate, so I'm not sure if he'll be able.
Why bring it up? Why?
We love an ass eater. But
And I would say to them that I do believe that that who we start off as is not necessarily who we have always been. It does not have to be who we always will be, and that there is possibility for a free world, and there is possibility for reconciliation. It requires intimate struggle, and it requires radical accountability. And unless and until they're able to commit to that, they have no place in engaging in not just hip hop, not just music, but in society at large. And I think that's my takeaway, and that's what I give to everyone, all abusers, is that we have been socialized in ways that we can't even imagine, and that we don't have to have that. We can unlearn shit, we can relearn shit, and we can move the fuck on with our lives, and that's me.
what about you, Kelly?
I wouldn't choose between any of them. I would just talk to black people as a whole. And just letting them know that we can't continue to protect black men at the expense of black women and their trauma. So that would be my takeaway from this, is that we have to get to the point where women coming out about their sexual assault, anyone coming out about their sexual assault, should be the norm, and we shouldn't have to wait years and years to come forward because we're scared of how we may be perceived in society.
What about you, Anthony? You thinking?
Man, I think that at the end of the day, like these celebrities, they're these celebrities, but they're representative of the community, and I think that it's important that we hold our community accountable, our friends, our family members, the people that we were serving in the military with, side by side. I think that it's important that we understand where we learn what masculinity is, and how we're trying to perform it, what that means. I think you need to disregard the things that you learned from your problematic ass uncle or your brother or your father that told you it was okay to, hit it with an open hand and don't hit it with a closed hand. Some of those sorts of things that we've heard as children that seem normal, that isn't normal today, that it should have never been normal, that is a fucking problem.
Right.
And we need to throw that shit away and listen to the survivors, listen to the women, listen to the queer people, listen to everybody that has been hurt at the hands of patriarchy, toxic masculinity, and white supremacy.
Absolutely. Kayla?
So, I just got two things to say.
Two things.
First, I think that someone who's gone under the radar in this conversation is Miguel. I think that just because you think you're cute and you know how to fall on people's necks during concerts, that you
Or
can
put a condom on.
right, or do whatever you know how to do well.
Right.
just because you're pretty, just because you are biracial, just because you have an audience that isn't, you know, majority black, that you can still get away with doing what you did to that woman and think that you could just drop an album, go on tour, you got your, you know, fiance who you're not gonna marry because of reasons of your career, that you can just get away with stuff and think that because your audience is your audience, is that they're not gonna hold you to the same extent that they may hold somebody like R.Kelly, who's been doing this shit for, that's his legacy.
What was the situation that happened with Miguel?
So last year, a black woman, she was a student at, I believe, the University of New Mexico. She went to a club to meet him, and she walked up to him and, you know, was like, hey, you know, I'm a student at, you know, University of da-da-da, you know, do a lot of, like, testing, like, safe sex, like, research, stuff like that. And, you know, I love your work, you know, Adore made me, like, orgasm a couple times, like, I just want to hug and picture from you. She, like, took the picture with him, and then she stepped away, and he, like, forced his hand down her top and took her breast out. And when TMZ, like, you know, interviewed him, well, not even interviewed him, when, like, they were after him to, like, get a response, he was like, you know, I don't want to talk about that, you know, people in this time, like, they just, like, are in it for, like, profit, and everybody wants to change up the story. And his fiance, like, you know, came for him and was like, yo, like, you know, it's fine, like, my man is, like, he don't do that. So, you know, and people forget that, you know, aesthetics take a lot of, like, space in how people attack issues like this, because he's pretty looking, he fine as fuck, then no problem. And then my second point is, you know, my aunties. I love y'all. I love the food. But at the same time, like, you know, because I realize that the majority of people that I spend a lot of time around are black women. And in our journeys of, you know, unlearning, you know, all the shit that the whites have done to us, I think that the same way I try to give up space to be checked is the same space that I think that I should have in order to check you too. And I think that that's hard because, you know, in many ways, me being a man, and even though I am queer, and even though, you know, all the other identities that I have, that in many ways, like, you know, the response I get from many black women are like, well, who the fuck you think you are, like, telling me that you can check me when, like, you're still a man, da-da-da, and I recognize that. But at the same time, I think that we're all on this journey, and we all, like, have to understand that we all have to hold each other accountable and understand what that looks like in the relationships that are closest to us.
Absolutely. Clarissa explains it all.
Still never seen that TV show. I think that, so I wouldn't talk to any of those people. I think I'm looking specifically at the writers that I follow, specifically that write about hip hop, who have been silent about this. I want them to know that, like, there's space in, like, a world where, like, we can write about the silly shit and also the real shit, and I'm always going to prioritize survivors over anybody else. So
Absolutely.
I just want hip hop to be better, and I know that's not going to happen without struggle. So.
Absolutely. Hope?
I think I would probably address the women in hip hop, because I think it's important for women in hip hop to know that a large portion of their fan base are the abused, and to not use your female voice, or to not use your queer voice, or to not use your non-binary voice as a female or a feminine figure in hip hop to speak out against that says a lot about who you are. And it says a lot about how you feel about the people that support you and the people that have been through the things that you yourself oftentimes have gone through to get where you are. And so I think my main message to you all is don't forget the hardships that you've gone through on the way to the top, because it still affects the people at the bottom.
Absolutely. I think my overall comment will be to the media, folks in media, people with platforms, people who do the stuff that I do, or say they do the stuff that we all supposed to be doing. I think we need to make sure that we're holding these folks accountable, even when there are people close to us, even when there are people that we work with, because it cannot be performative. It cannot be a situation where, girl, I'll talk about that into somebody that I know, or somebody that works for me, or somebody that I pay, or they pay me, or something like that. It cannot be that. If you are one of those people, then you need to take your ass and stop having a conversation about this shit, period. You need to stop, because you're not really out here doing any work. I think this shit is very real, it's very serious. My mother has told me about situations she has went through and other people. And it bothers me a lot, and that people are still able to walk around and not be checked for some of the things they cause people to experience like trauma for years. My mother's like 50-something years old, and she's still dealing with a situation that somebody in the family did to her, and it's terrible. So we all have to do this work together, and that's all I got. I appreciate y'all for being a part of this in the middle episode. Until next time, we'll see y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.